Hello everybody, it's Jen. Thanks for joining me today. I am using the Year 7 birthday set from Lawn Fawn, which is this adorable pinata. I'm also bringing in the Hang In There stamp set for the birthday hat. I'm using love letters. I'm using one of the little birdies in that set. And then I'm also using Love You S'more for the stick at the bottom there on the bottom right. So those are all the stamp sets I'm using today to create this card. I'm going to be coloring the images using my distress markers. So I'm doing these in nice bright colors. I'm using peacock feathers for the blue, and I'm trying to just feather on the color so that it gives it a little bit of texture to the image. I want it to kind of look like it's little pieces of paper glued on to the pinata, as many of them are made. So I'm just using a water brush here, and I'm going to get that first layer of blue on, and I'm going to be doing color by color here as I color my images. So I'll be working with all three of these as I go. So the next color I'm going to be using is Picked Raspberry. And you'll see here how I'm skipping the middle section. I want to make sure that that blue dries before I bring in the color there. So I'm putting the pink down to the bottom of the pinata, and again using a feathering technique. So I'm not going for a smooth look here at all. As I mentioned, I'm trying to get this kind of feathered look with lots of texture. So the next color that I'm going to bring in is the dried marigold, and I'm just using that for the snout and the legs, and then for the beak on the little chick, which I forget, but I will come back to that. And then I'm trying to bring each of the colors that I'm using into the party hat to bring in all of the colors. So I didn't quite put enough ink down, so I just had to add a little bit more there, and that's one of the things that I love about distress markers is that you can add on top of what you already have, and I am going to do that as well with the blue again after it dries. So now I'm bringing in the Twisted Citron, which is a really pretty bright green color, and I think all of these colors go really well together to make a bright kind of Mexican feel, bright birthday themed card. So there's where I bring the dried marigold back for the little beak, and then I'm going to use squeezed lemonade for the little chick and for the last little spot there on the birthday hat. So with the chick, I'm not going for much of a feathered look as I did for the pinata because I want them to look quite different. So I'm going for a smoother blend with the little chick, and that blends out really nicely. I'm only using one coloring for this card, and I'm going to use a little bit of spun sugar here on the cheeks. But that's one of the great things about distress inks as well, is that you can get shadowing and different blending just by using one marker. So here I'm going back just to kind of work on the face portion and the ears to blend that out a little bit. I didn't quite get the blend that I wanted the first time around, but now that it's dry, I'm able to darken that up and move that color around a bit more till I'm satisfied. And I just wanted to show you as well that for the stick, I used the new Lawn Fawn ink in dough to do that, and I have die cut out those pieces and fussy cut the ones that I don't have the steel dies for, which wasn't a problem. All of the images are very easy to cut out. So now I'm just adhering the little stick to the little chick, and I'm going to put the birthday hat on the chick. When I first saw this stamp set, I really wasn't delighted and kind of was thinking about how fun birthday parties can be to hit pinatas. So that's what inspired this card. So what I want to do is make it look like the little candies are actually coming out of the busted pinata. But first I want to get the candies down, and these come together as a set of 3 on one stamp, which is a little tricky. I may eventually cut them apart, I'm not sure, but for this first card, I wanted to just try it with them as they came. So I'm going to repeat the same colors here. I've sped this up a little bit faster so you can just see how I did this very quickly, but I want all of the same colors to be carried out through all of the different elements of the card that make up the entire card. So I'm going to bring in the yellow on the sides of the pink candies, and then each of the other candies will have their own color. So that didn't take very long to do at all. Now I am going to cut the piñata in half, so take a deep breath. I think it worked okay. And I'm going to use some foam adhesive here on the back of that to place the piñata on the card. Now, if I was going to do this again and I made multiples of these cards, I actually made the string for the piñata before doing this piece. So you'll see me here in a second. I'm going to actually do it now that this is adhered on, which wasn't perhaps the smartest thing to do. I wanted it fairly straight, so I used the ruler at the top and then connected it just by hand and just made my own little loop and fishtails hanging down for the string. And so now you can see the way I positioned it, it looks like the piñata has been hit and broken open and the candies are spilling out. So I'm just using a little piece of paper here to ground the bottom of the card, and I'm going to have the little chick standing on that. You could also just use a little bit of ink here to do a little bit of shadowing, but I went for paper this time. So now the images are on the card. I'm going to use a large paintbrush just to wet the back of the card. I'm using watercolor paper. Any kind of watercolor paper works great with distress markers. This is just, actually it's just a cheap watercolor from Target that I've had in my stash for a while that I'm trying to use up. And then I'm going to take some tumbled glass distress ink and I'm going to just lightly put that all around the images just to kind of give a little bit of color to the background and so that the images will stand out on the card. So then I needed to use my water brush to bring in that color in the areas that were smaller. The fine tip on this brush makes that really easy to do. So then I'm going to bring in my white Jelly Roll pen and I'm going to add some highlight features on the candies, and I do some dots and some stripes just to give the candies a little bit more pizzazz than the other elements on the card. So then I'm going to move towards working on the inside of the card, and all I've done is taken my card base, flipped it inside out so that I could stamp the inside greeting. So this is the greeting that comes with the Year 7 stamp set, and I'm using, I think, the Merman. It's the Mermaid or the Merman ink. Either of them would do. And I'm stamping out Hope Your Birthday Is A. And then I'm going to use, once I get that cleaned up and out of the stamping tool, I'm going to just use the last word, which is smash, on an ink block with pink flamingo, plastic flamingo, pink flamingo. I haven't had these stamps long enough to know their exact names, but I wanted to have a separate color for that word, and then I'm just using the pink flamingo with the little confettis as well for the inside of the card. So now I'm just going to put the card together, and I'm just going to glue this piece of paper onto the front panel. I'm not sure what paper collection this comes from, so if you do know, happy to have you leave that in the comments. I was gifted it in Happy Mail a while back and just wanted to use it. The colors matched perfectly with the distressed inks that I used. Then I popped up the focal point of the card on some craft foam just so that it would be nice and sturdy and even on the card base. And then for final touches, I'm going to use my Spectrum Noir glitter brush pen and put lots of glitter on the images. And then I'm going to use some glossy accents on a couple of the pieces of the images. So on the nose, on the candies, just to have them pop a little bit more off the card, and the beak on the chick as well. So I hope you enjoyed this card, and I will have some still shots here so you can see the card up close. I also have a picture at the end with the distress markers if you want to take a picture and know which ones I used easily. So thanks for watching. Have a great day. Bye.